You cannot detox from dopamine, and anyone promising that misunderstands how your brain actually works. Yet millions try dopamine detoxes because modern life leaves them distracted, exhausted, and strangely unmotivated. One moment you scroll endlessly, the next moment even simple work feels painfully boring. So the real question isn't how to remove dopamine, but why motivation suddenly disappears. And more importantly, what actually resets your brain when everything feels overstimulating and dull. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your brain isn't broken, it's simply calibrated to the wrong rewards. Social media turned dopamine detox into a viral solution for burnout and focus problems. Students, creators, and professionals all try extreme breaks, hoping their motivation magically returns. For a few days, silence feels refreshing, focus improves, and life seems finally under control. Then normal habits return, scrolling resumes, and guilt quietly replaces that temporary sense of progress. The cycle repeats because detoxing misunderstands what dopamine actually does inside your brain. Most people believe dopamine equals pleasure, but neuroscience paints a completely different picture. Dopamine doesn't measure enjoyment, it measures pursuit, anticipation, and what feels worth chasing. It's the signal telling your brain this matters, pay attention, move toward this again. That means dopamine rises before rewards, not after, guiding motivation rather than pleasure itself. Think about watching short videos compared to reading a challenging but meaningful book chapter. Short videos deliver fast, unpredictable rewards, constantly refreshing curiosity and triggering strong pursuit signals. Reading builds slower motivation, like a plant growing quietly instead of fireworks exploding instantly. Your brain learns patterns, tagging quick rewards as urgent and deeper efforts as optional. Over time, easy stimulation becomes the default target your motivation system automatically prioritizes. Here's what actually happens when you binge on instant rewards throughout your daily routine. Your brain adapts by raising its expectation of stimulation intensity just to feel engaged. Normal activities start feeling flat, not because they changed, but because your baseline shifted upward. This hidden pattern explains why ordinary life suddenly feels dull after constant digital stimulation. You're not lazy or disciplined. Your reward system simply learned a different standard of excitement. Now, here's why dopamine detoxing fails, even when it feels powerful at first. Dopamine isn't a toxin you can flush out like sugar or caffeine from your body. Without dopamine, you couldn't move, focus, plan, or even feel motivated to get out of bed. Extreme fasts rely on willpower temporarily, but rarely change the environment shaping your habits. Once notifications return and friction disappears, your brain follows the same learned reward pathways again. The fantasy is a reset button, but the reality is more like adjusting a control panel. Motivation works like a volume knob responding to repeated experiences, not a chemical you remove. When intense rewards dominate daily life, the volume turns up, making quieter rewards harder to notice. So the real solution isn't detoxing dopamine, it's recalibrating what your brain expects to pursue. Instead of fighting motivation, you gradually teach it to value deeper, slower rewards again. Think of this as a dopamine diet rather than a dopamine detox. Just like food, some rewards are ultra-processed, while others nourish long-term energy and satisfaction. Endless scrolling, constant switching, and instant novelty act like junk food for your brain. Focused work, real conversations, learning, and movement act like whole foods rebuilding sensitivity slowly. When junk stimulation decreases, ordinary experiences begin feeling interesting again without forcing discipline. The hidden shift happens quietly. Your brain relearns what counts as meaningful effort. Motivation stops chasing intensity and starts responding to progress, mastery, and genuine engagement. Suddenly, tasks that once felt impossible regain momentum without extreme bursts of willpower. This isn't a dramatic reset, it's a gradual recalibration happening through consistent daily signals, and small changes repeated daily far more reliably than dramatic temporary restrictions. So what does realistic recalibration actually look like over the next 7 days? First, limit 1 or 2 high-intensity habits, especially late-night scrolling that overstimulates your reward system. Second, add 1 daily deep reward block, 90 minutes of focused effort without constant switching. Third, protect mornings and sleep as low-noise environments where sensitivity naturally rebuilds over time. These steps don't remove dopamine, they retrain it toward activities that sustain motivation longer. After a week, something subtle changes. Silence feels calmer instead of uncomfortable or boring. Focus lasts slightly longer, distractions feel weaker, and progress begins feeling quietly satisfying again. That's your reward system recalibrating, learning to notice depth instead of chasing constant novelty. When you stop feeding endless stimulation, ordinary life slowly regains texture, meaning, and emotional clarity, and motivation stops feeling like a battle you constantly lose against your own brain. So here's the takeaway. You don't need to fight dopamine, you need to train it intentionally. You're not broken, you were simply trained by an environment optimized for instant rewards. Change the inputs consistently and your brain naturally changes what it wants to pursue. When cheap hits lose dominance, deeper experiences begin feeling rewarding without forcing yourself. And maybe the real reset isn't escaping dopamine, but finally learning how to guide it.